And welcome back, everyone. It is the 29th of December, 2024. It is the last box office report of the year. Now, the end of the year box office report will come out. I want to say it will come out before the first box office report of next year, which would be next Sunday of January. But I won't. I'm not gonna hold that. I'm not gonna hold my feet to the fire on that one. I'm gonna try to get out the end of year box office report, the best and worst ofs, next week. But remember, I also got other stuff to do in the week, so there's that too. But either way, it is the 29th of December 2024, and we have a pretty solid box office to end the year on. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came in number 1 for the second time in a row, $38 million. Mufasa the Lion King, $37.1 million. It actually went up, which is actually very impressive. And I have some theories about why. Nosferatu basically debuts the 21.1 million. We're not finally factoring in like the Christmas Day or anything like that. No, we're dealing with just the weekend. And number 4, Wicked made another $19.4 million, going up 37.4%. And Moana 2 went up 37.8% for the number 5 spot, making another $18.2 million. God bless the holidays. Which is really one of the biggest reasons all these films took either a small drop or a sizable increase. But now Sonic 3 has been in theaters for 2 weeks, been number 1 again, and now we have an international number finally, 74 million worldwide, bringing it right now to I'm stuttering over myself today. Bringing it right now to a worldwide total of $211 million. Now this is just week 2. But it's already on a good track to make its money back. Now, this was the most expensive Sonic to make by far. The other two, I think, were only made on like 80 some odd million. This one was made on about 120 from what I could find. I would be willing to guess, though, it's only about 50 million in marketing. Maybe more, maybe 50 to like 80. It probably wasn't a full 100. We know they definitely did a little bit of extra promotion for it. So I might put it above 50. But I wouldn't put it like, say, 100. So let's average out and say 75. I think that's a reasonable number. Even if I just do it at 80, which is also a reasonable number, that means this film's made on $200 million. And that's at about $300 million to break even. It's already got a good trajectory for that. $211 million, it's only got to do another $89 million. It's going to have some good legs, especially going into January, where we're not going to have a lot of competition to start the year off with. There's also not going to be a lot of films that challenge this for its demographic. I mean, let's look at real quick what the coming up year is going to look like, shall we? Let's just look at the 12th of January for right now. I know there are 2 films coming out in wide release allegedly called Harbin and Vermingido, but wide release does not mean like thousands of screens, nor does it actually mean that it's gonna, even if it did, it's gonna be number 1. I know nothing about it. It's actually going to be a slow week for me starting the year off, so I'm probably going to try to catch Complete Unknown to round out the films of 2024 that I saw. But what do we have then after that? We got Better Man, which is an interesting idea for a film. Den of Thieves, Part 2. We got Wolfman, One of Them Days. Flight Risk, Brave the Dark, and I believe Dogman comes out this month. Yeah, Dogman as well, and Companion. Nothing in this roster of films comes even close to challenging Sonic. Sonic is going to actually have a very nice run up until February 14th, up until Valentine's Day, because then you get Paddington in Peru, which would cleave Sonic 3 in half at that point, and you got Captain America: Brave New World coming out. So yeah, no, Sonic's going to have a very nice, easygoing month coming up here. And the beauty of doldrum months, while they're not great for a lot of content, the beauty of them, or I guess I should say the silver lining of them, is that films that should be making more and are good and are getting a lot of attraction, they can thrive in those months because there's just not enough new releases coming out to knock them out of the spot. So I would not be shocked to see that Sonic 3 is in the number 1, the top 5 spot, going all the way through January. So we're going to have to wait and see what ultimately it does, but Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is making great headway right now. Okay, Mufasa is one of 3 films this week that actually went up instead of going down, this is one of the few times a year where that actually happens. Same thing happened with Puss in Boots and Jumanji and Greatest Showman, all of which came out right around this time of year. So Mufasa made out 37.1 million. Worldwide stands at 327.9, so 328. Now the film is on a $200 million budget, and I'm going to say there's guaranteed to be about $100 million in marketing for this one. So you're looking at a film that right now has to hit about 450 to break even. It's not going to do that by the end of the year. I've got to wait till Wednesday, because when the Tuesday numbers come out on Wednesday, that's when I got to write down the very final numbers of the year for the box office. But right now it's got a good trajectory. It's only in its second week. Clearly the Christmas rush helped it out a lot. I think that's the big thing that came out here, is that it didn't start great, but I'm guessing some word of mouth must be going around for it, because even with the holidays, the only other two films that went up this week were Wicked and Moana too, or at least major films that are making any considerable money. And both those films have a solid word of mouth. They're very rewatchable. So my guess is the people who are going to see Mufasa are probably saying better things about it than what some people like me would be saying. And I'm not saying bad or good. I'm saying I don't care about seeing it. I'm not going to be seeing it. So it's certainly good for Mufasa, particularly because Disney had a horrible year last year, and now they are making up for it in strides this year. I don't know if they lost money on a project this year, and if they did, it wasn't a lot, because they also own 20th Century now. So I believe the First Omen, I think that did lose some money. Planet of the Apes I think I already did the numbers on that, but either lost just a little bit of money or broke even or made a little bit of money. But then you have Inside Out 2, you have Deadpool Wolverine, Alien Romulus, Moana 2 is still burning up the box office. We'll talk to you a bit more about that in a little while, but that's important. And a few other minor things here or there. Yeah, no, it's been a fantastic year for Disney, and while the end of 2024 will not end with this being profitable, the movie itself may very well go into profitable territory just as the new year starts. Now, again, I don't, just to recap and I'll probably recap this when I do the video. When I do the end of the year box office, I am only looking at the year from January 1st to December 31st. Did I say January 31st? January 1st to December 31st. I'm only looking at that span of time, the money made at that time. I'm also not, and from the movies that came out in that year, not films that carried over into the next year. So that's what I look at. That's just how I look at the box office, personally. And obviously, if you want to look at the end of the year box office, it changes, obviously, because the films continue on past that. But that's just the way I do it, personally. Still, though, look, while this film I don't think was going to be for me, I'm glad people are going out to see it. I'm glad people are still supporting the theaters, enjoying it. And you know what? I could honestly say, if this film is on IMAX, this film probably looks great on IMAX. Like, even though I don't really like the photorealistic animals that much from what I've seen, I will say, like, the fact that that's all CGI, all computer generated, is kind of insane. It is kind of insane. So it probably looks fantastic on IMAX in 3D. So got to give it credit where credit's due on there. Nosferatu, 21.1 million. It's currently made 43 million worldwide, starting on its Christmas Day opening from right now in just its opening week. That is good, because it's made on $50 million. It's actually not made on a huge budget. And you know what? They got the use out of that budget, man. They really knew how to stretch it pretty well. There was a couple shots that maybe I could start to see a little bit of the money slipping, but other than that, they did a fantastic job. On a $50 million budget, and this film was not heavily advertised. I mean, it was advertised fine. People went to see it, clearly, but it was not heavily advertised. I wouldn't go, let me try to formulate my words here. I wouldn't put it past them to have only put maybe 30 million in the marketing. I mean, there were like two different trailers. There was the teaser, and then there was like the, come to me trailer. But I I would probably be willing to say 30 to 40 million. I don't even know if it'd be a full 50. I'd probably be willing to bet like 30-ish million is what was probably spent on this film. Which means if they can hit 120, they're good. They're good. And right now they're on a good trajectory. Again, right now, nothing is coming out right now that's going to be hurt. Let me rephrase that. Nothing's coming out in the next week or two. Wolfman comes out, though, I believe. What was the week that Wolfman comes out? It's not the first week, which is January 3rd. It's not the second week. It's the third week of January where Wolfman comes out. That's going to be the one that buries Nosferatu. Even if the film's not good, it's still the first horror movie of 2025 coming out. So it's going to be the one that derails whatever momentum this has. But at that point, Nosferatu very well may have made its money back. So good on Nosferatu. I did enjoy the movie quite a lot. I'm not sure it's going to be my top 10, but I think it's a very well-made movie. It's just also a movie that I'm probably not going to see again. I'm like, hey, I saw that. That was good. I'm good the one time. Thank you. Now moving on to the two other winners this week. Wicked went up 37.4%. Now, why is that? Well, rewatching, putting it by way at $364 million. This film has now long since become profitable, and good on it. It's a fantastic, wonderful film. This one may be in my top 10. A, rewatchable. It's got the built-in fan base to it. Absolutely. B, the holiday rush. But C, and most importantly, believe it or not, they re-released it with the sing-along version part of it, which is a lot more money you can drink, especially for the people who want to sing along with it. So yeah, it's so this film is kind of a cultural phenomenon right now. It is. It's one of the highest grossing films of the year. I believe it is number. What is it? That's the wrong year. I want 25. I believe it's not. I wasn't trying to open. No, sorry. I was opening the wrong tab. I want box. There we go. Let's see here. What is? I believe it's the. I want to say that 8th highest grossing film of the year. Maybe no 6th. We'll find out. Hold on. It is the sixth highest grossing film of the year right now. Now, when it's all said and done, if we're continuing the trajectory past, obviously, 2024, like most people would, do I think it could catch, say, Dune? It does have to do another $80 million to catch Dune. That's tough. I will not say it's impossible, though, because we clearly got another boost internationally this month for a lot of films, including Moana 2, which you can see there, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we got another international boost, because that wasn't just it mostly was the domestic, but there was a little bit of an international boost there, but nothing huge. I'm probably going to say no, it can't make another $80 million, because I think the majority of this money now is domestic. But I'll say there's a out of the ballpark chance, out of left field chance for it, I'd say. But look, at this point, it doesn't need to make that to be successful. It is long since successful. $150 million budget. Between this and the second film, there's about $150 in marketing, which, well, thinking on it, yeah, that does make sense. So you're looking at a film that would hit $450 to break even. It long since did that in spades. In spades, it did that. So it is a very successful movie at this point, and still making money. Want to went up even further, 37.8%. Now, as you saw it with the worldwide, it's at $882.5 million. Why is this significant? This is significant because the last I saw it was at $820 some odd million. So I initially said no. I don't think this film will hit $1 billion, and nor does it need to at this point. It's 100% a success. It does not need to. By the way, we should also take into account this week is New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, which means that you might see another smaller, but another uptick in the box office those couple days. But the point is, it's now 118 away from making $1 billion. Can it do it? Especially because it's still clearly got a little bit left in the international tank. It's a good question. It's a good question. I'll say this, despite the fact it needs to make more than Wicked, I think it has a better shot than Wicked. Because because as nice wide market appeal as Wicked is, Moana 2 is just a broader market. It's an animated kids film, and as we've been seeing, there is not one damn movie to compete with this thing and take money from it until what, Dogman? And let's be honest, 31st of January, Dogman, which doesn't even look that good. Let's be honest, it looks like a young kids film, whereas Moana at least looks like a film for the family. But by that point, Moana 2 is going to probably, if it's lucky, be making a couple million each week. So, I mean, and then Paddington 2 comes out 2 weeks after that. That's when anything left in the tank is done. Not an animated film per se, but with an animated character based on a kid's film family picture. There you go. So is it impossible for this film to make $1 billion? No. In fact, I'd actually say you've got a better shot with this than you do Wicked. Wicked. What I mean is, this has a better shot to make $1 billion to cross that threshold than Wicked does to cross the threshold of beating Dune 2. That's what I meant. But I would still put money on saying no, it doesn't. But if next week rolls around and this is somehow at like 930, 940 or higher, I'll reevaluate that stance. I will. I would still say it would be difficult, but it's getting close. And look, at 882 million, it is the fourth highest grossing film of the year. Look, right now, I would say that Moana 2 there's a good chance Moana 2 could actually catch Despicable Me 2 right now, which is about also roughly 80 some odd million off. It's more like 87-ish or something like that. It's about 87 off, which is a little bit more from Wicked, but again, it's got better appeal than Wicked. It's got wider market than Wicked. So I think it can definitely catch Despicable Me 2. The extra 31 million, though, that might be a little tough. We'll have to wait and see what next week looks like, because that's going to be the defining feature. It's also odd to say because Wicked 2 is technically making more at the box office this week than, not even technically, it is, than Moana 2. But, did I say Wicked 2? You know what I meant. But either way, it's a fantastic week at the box office. I just look, and then Complete Unknown made 11.6 million this weekend. It made 23 million during the holiday weekend. It is made though on around 65 million bucks. Between 60 and 70 is the estimate, so average that out. I don't think someone's going to make any money, but this is going for award consideration, so I'm not expecting it to make money. So, I mean, if you just look at the top 6, which was all double digits at the box office this week, which is insane. Let's see, 31, 49, 70, then 107, and then 145. 145 million at the box office just with the top 6 alone. Like, that's a good week. That's a good week at the theaters. Then Baby Girl makes about 4.3 million this week. I know very little about this film. I mean, I know a little bit. I know she's like a businesswoman, has a family career, but then this intern comes in, he's young, hot, and says, "You're someone who likes to be told what to do." And so she begins an affair with him, and yeah, it's one of those types of movies. Like, okay, whatever. Apparently, it's pretty hot and steamy. But then Nicole Kidman basically said, "Yeah, I never want to fake another orgasm again in my life after doing that movie." Fun fact about Nosferatu, side note about actors talking about how films are kind of affecting them negatively. Bill Skarsgård, I believe, came out and said that, yeah, after doing Nosferatu, I think it's kind of ruined my career in terms of wanting to do horror films anymore, because apparently it was actually made him uncomfortable. Let's see here. We got The Damned, interesting. Where Baby Girl, 77%. Complete Unknown, 78%. I mean, some people are liking it. Okay, majority of audiences barely liked it. Hey, The Count of Monte Cristo did okay. Fire Inside got 94%. Cool on that. Wicked, I think, is the highest grossing overall of the big releases. Actually, no, it's tied with Sonic, and Sonic's got a 1% better audience rating. Still, Nosferatu's got 86%, and 75% of the audiences like it. That's the problem with Nosferatu and a lot of horror. They don't lend themselves to repeat viewing very often. And I can already tell you, Nosferatu is not going to lend itself to repeat viewing. So it's got to rely more on word of mouth. Gladiator 2 made $4.1 million. Again, the holiday rush helped it a little bit. $435 million. it's still losing money. It's lost about $100 million, but any money you make is good money because it's less you lose. So there you go. Homestead, 3.1 million. They're good for it. I'm not a Angel Studios or Pureflix guy, so I don't really generally go out to see these movies. The Fire Inside basically debuted with it had 2 some odd million this week, 4.3 million worldwide. Good for it. It's going to be one of those films that, again, isn't really looking to make money. Kraven the Hunter, in just its 3rd week, man, this is sad as hell. $1.7 million, 52.5 million worldwide. It is rated better than Madame Web. I heard someone say this movie is worse than Madame Web. This movie is not worse than Madame Web. I think the reason a lot of people who I like to watch, who were very excited about this movie, or at least were looking forward to and having faith in this movie, thought it was worse than Madame Web, is just that. The trailers are good, but it was also false marketing, advertising. And because we had our hopes up, it burned a lot of people. I think that's what the problem with Kraven is. It's not worse than Madame Web. It's a bad movie. Oh, it is a bad movie, but it's not worse than. Okay, it's all subjective too. Which, by the way, let's sing as we're on this, and we're pretty much done with everything that came out here, and I got a little bit of time. Let's just talk about the best Christmas pageant ever. Did that make? Hey, it might make about 40 million when it's all said and done. Right on. Anyway, where was I gonna say? No, there really isn't anything else out to really talk about. Hey, Conclave's still around. Who knew? What did Conclave end up making? Oh, 53. Wow, Conclave went on to go on to make a nice, pretty little penny for itself. And Wild Robot's still around, but Wild Robot's also done. But yeah, let's address that the CEO of Sony comment real quick. Now there have been brain dead decisions, comments made before the day and date release with Warner Brothers and Disney. Disney at least gave you a paywall before you did it. It's still stupid, but they at least had some level into a smarter idea concept than what Warner Brothers had. And then there's these CEOs who clearly are either have a bias, are out of touch, or something like that. And then there's just brain dead morons. This guy, whose name I forget at the moment, but the current CEO, who's apparently stepping down as of next year from the CEO position, I wonder why, came out and said that he didn't understand why, Madame Web, Morbius, and Kraven did so poorly. Because it's not that they're good movies. He thinks it's the critics that, that brought the movies down and made them do bad. So this is one of those moments where you have to hear that multiple times, register it, and go, what is that quality CEO crack you're on? Like, can I get ahead of that? Because the high you must be experiencing must be godly. You put out a bad product. It wasn't just this. First off, the critics that didn't like the movie. Audiences barely gave any of them positive Rotten Tomato scores, the verified ones. Morbius became a joke on itself. Madame Web had a brief second life on stream because it was so bad that people wanted to watch it. But here's your problem with that flawed logic. I'll, on a minor 1% scale, kind of agree with that statement. Why? Because the critics will influence the opening weekend to some degree. There's a portion of the movie-going audience that focuses on what the critic says, go by what the critics say, and will say, I will see it or won't see it because of that. And because Morbius, Madame Web, and Kraven all had such negative opening starting reviews, that does impact the opening weekend to whatever degree, large or small. It does impact it to some degree. Okay, fair. That is legit fair. But after that, the critics have nothing to do with it. You want to know why your films don't do well? Because the people go watch it, think it sucks, and then don't come back to watch it again. That's basic movie going 101. If the audience doesn't like the product you put out, they're not going to go back to see it or tell people to go see it. That has nothing to do with the critics. And so it's one of the most tone deaf, arrogant, I'm going to say, not belligerent. That's not the word I'm looking for. Ignorant and maybe deluded comments I've heard a CEO say from a movie going company in some time. So I just figured I'd give my take on what I thought about that statement, seeing as there's not much else to talk about this week. Now we got next week. Now with next week, this is going to be interesting because now we're not really having as much of a holiday rush. Yeah, we have, like I said, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, but it's not the same type of holiday as Christmas. Oh, now Lion King did actually go up this week, which is impressive. But will it go up next week? Probably not. So the question is, does it drop more or less than Sonic? My immediate guess would be more. Why? Because again, you don't have the holiday to factor in. It's a little less than Sonic the Hedgehog 3 already, and Sonic's also shorter. Like Lion King's like a half hour longer minimum. So, and Sonic's, I think, the more fun time, and I think a lot of people kind of felt that. And so, I would still say it's Sonic 3 and Mufasa at number 1 and 2 respectively. Now, after that, though, now we're getting to the difficult spot here. I'll say Nosferatu is probably going to be number 5. So the question is, do I think Wicked or Moana 2 will be number 3 or 4? I'm going to go with Moana 2. For all the reasons I said earlier. It's an animated film. It's a family film. It also took the bigger increase this weekend, despite the fact it made less and even lost, but also it lost more screens than Wicked did. If it had lost the same amount of screens as Wicked, it would have been number 1 this week. So I am probably going to go Moana 2 over Wicked for the number 3 spot. So again, Sonic, Mufasa, Moana. Wow, that's a word soup. Sonic, Mufasa, Moana, Wicked, Nosferatu. Sonic, Mufasa, Moana. Ha! Sonic, Mufasa, Moana. Hey. And Mufasa. Anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the new year. Later.